What's up, guys? I'm Joe from Authentic African. And if you want to know if I regret moving to the United States from Africa, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live. We're live everywhere. We're live on all platforms. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Actually, we're about to go live on Instagram. We're not live yet on Instagram. Let me get us live on Instagram. If you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me. And also let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you can hear me and let me know where you're watching from. We did an impromptu live today. Didn't really promote it today. It's been a bit hectic being back in the States. You would think it'd be less hectic, but it's even more hectic. So let me know if you guys can hear me and let me know where you guys are watching from. And those of you who are just joining, today we are going to talk about whether or not I regret moving to America. So let me tell you guys something. As its pros and its cons, there are many, and we're going to talk about it. So again, where are you guys watching from? And can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up to know you can hear me, and hit that like button on the live. So I know that, and so that the algorithm knows that you are with me today, because the algorithm has been giving me some problems. For those of you who've been following some time, you know that already. So here we are. I think we're now live on Instagram. We should be live on Instagram now. All right, so who do we got? We got some comments here. Okay, Bello Cello, Milwaukee in the house. Auntie Alice is here. Hey, Auntie Alice, how are you? Who do we have on Instagram? I have a whole new setup, guys, by the way. I'm acclimating to being back in the States, I guess. And, I have lights on lights right now. You guys can't see it, but I have a light here. You can kind of see the light on my hand. And then I have a ring light here. You can see here. We've upgraded a little bit since moving back to the States. So we got a lot to talk about, though. Do I regret moving back to America from Africa? That's the question of the hour, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Today, that is the question we are going to answer. And I've had a lot of questions about this. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine, and we were just talking about, how I've been adjusting to living back in the United States. Part of it was out of necessity. Part of it was just a need to be able to take care of some things. And it's just easier for me to do that from, being here majority of the time. And so, did I want to make the move to come back to the United States? Not necessarily. This was not a planned thing prior to October of last year. October of last year, I started kind of making the decision. It was time. I have a lot of work that I'm doing on the continent where, building, buying, and it requires a lot of capital. And, I've talked about this before. And so it's kind of out of necessity. It wasn't like a wanting to move back. Now, I will say that most people move back to America because they can't hack it, right? Like they just can't hack it in Africa. It's too hard, too difficult. Money's too little, and they didn't plan properly. That was not the case for me. And I guess I should have probably prefaced my earlier discussions about moving back with that. It wasn't that. I mean, was it challenging? Yes. On many ways, it was challenging. But was it too difficult for me? No. I mean, I knew that I could live on the continent for as long as I wanted to. It's just that I have things that I need to build quickly and accelerate, which requires more capital, and I can make more capital in America. So Atiala says, we're happy to have you back here, son. We need you to be taking care of business, though. Yes, 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 yes. And I will be continuing to take care of business back home. So the question, the question of the hour is, do I regret moving to America? And the long and short of it is no. I don't regret it. Are there things about being here that I really don't like and things that I miss from being back home? Yeah, of course. Many things. But at the end of the day, it has been a smooth transition. I celebrated my birthday the week I came back. And so that was great to like see friends and family, people from all over the country. I had a friend flying from LA, I had another friend flying from Atlanta, friends come up from the DMV. So that was great, celebrated a milestone birthday back here in the United States with some friends of mine, people that I've known for over 20 years. I just turned 40. And so that was great to kind of bring in that new milestone birthday with those friends. Question that came from Alaric Kelly is, what state are you in? I'm in New York State, specifically Brooklyn, New York right now. And so, it's that part of it has been great. And I've mentioned that previously. But I will tell you this, there is one thing, being on the ground is so different from being here remotely trying to do different things. One of the things that I find difficult is in Sierra Leone, not everybody has data all the time. Right? So if you call people on WhatsApp, they may or may not answer. They may not have the capability to answer the call. And so while I was there on the ground, if I couldn't get them on WhatsApp, I could always do a direct call, right? And just say like, hey, look, we need you to do this thing, right? Where, like, for instance, water. I had an issue where I needed water at my property, and one of the people in my neighborhood that supplies water, he was unreachable via WhatsApp. And so I had to continue to reach out, and I had to call someone else to call him direct to ensure that they brought water to the site. And so, things like that, I think, make things a little bit more difficult. You realize that if you want something done right, sometimes you need to do it yourself. And, I was someone who had gotten my hands dirty and learned the ways of the land, how to move around, who to talk to about what, when you needed things done. And sometimes it takes direct communication, being able to go to that person physically, communicate your needs. And so trying to do that remotely is a bit challenging. The good news is the majority of the hard work has been done building the foundation of the house. Where we are now is raising the walls up for the different rooms, and we'll be floating the roof here in about a month and a half or so. And really, the whole thing can be done in the next 3 months, right? Like, kind of just getting the whole first floor done. It's all about the finances, right? If the money's there, it gets done. So that was one of the things that I would say is like what I feel like is really challenging right now is communication back home and trying to get things done. That's the biggest challenge. So for any of you guys who plan to move, visit the continent of Africa, and you plan to come back and forth, just know that things will slow down once you leave. And obviously that it seems like kind of like an obvious statement, but even if you have people that are on top of things inevitably go wrong, and your ability to solve them remotely are dramatically more complicated when you are further away. So Femi Palmer says it's hard to build in the rainy season, bro. It is, but no problem actually for me, because I have a really good contractor, and so he's able to get everything done that I need. But separately from that, it's raining, and I am putting beacons up at the 5 acres that we have, the 5 acres that we have in the Bo Kenema area. And we're putting up these beacons, these 7 feet tall beacons. They're like stone. Think of Stonehenge, I guess, sort of, but they're like pillars, and they'll have like a point at the top, and they'll be 7 feet in height, but we are digging 2 feet in the ground to place them in the ground so that they're stable. So the base of it is going to be 2 feet in the ground, and so 5 feet out of the ground is how high these pillars are going to stand. And so we're trying to get these things done and built all around the property. I'm putting 20 beacons around the 5 acres of land. So we got a lot of comments that I want to respond to. So Kwame says, hey Joe, just keep focused. I absolutely will. You know me, I'm focused. I'm a focused individual. African Millennial says they build houses fast. Yes, they do. My first story will be done very quickly. You know, we're not using a lot of like drywall and all that kind of stuff. When we build for the long term, right? So my house isn't drywall. It's cement mixture blocks, right? It's sand, granite stones, and cement and water. That's what they're mixing together. Well, the granite stones won't be used. It's just sand and cement mixtures with some water. That is how they build these blocks, and those blocks are going to be the walls. And then we also have cement. We also have like cement pillars that are going to be holding the house up. Allery Kelly says, yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to get started in Kenya. Yes, no better time than the present to start building and to start buying land in Africa. That's for sure. Bello Cello says, do you ever think about establishing your business in Ghana and utilizing your network in Ghana? I followed your journey in Ghana. So that's a great question. And yes, the answer is yes. I plan to operate in Ghana as well with my social media agency and with my consulting business. I have partners in Ghana that I'm utilizing for that. So, you know, I talk a lot about Sierra Leone on these lives, but I did live for 2 years in Ghana. And so anybody who's planning to move to Ghana, visit Ghana, if there's any services that I can provide for you, just let me know. We can, and I can help get those things set up for you. So if you want to reach me for consulting, this is what you, hold on one second. Let me see if I could find the banners. Yeah, if you guys want to reach out to me for consulting, just hit me up here at authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. So if you ever want to do any consulting with me, I'll set you up. I did 2 consulting calls on Friday. I think they went fairly well. They seemed pretty grateful for how it went. So I'm more than happy to continue that process with anybody who needs it, specifically in Ghana as well. So yes, to answer your question, that question from Bello Cello, yes, I will absolutely be offering services in Ghana. So back to whether or not I regret it. Certain things I do miss. Certain things I do wish I had here. So, for example, you know, something as simple as having having house help. You know, for just under $100 a month in Sierra Leone, you can have someone cook and clean for you, depending on who you have and how good they are. You know, multiple times a week. Some people do it 5 days a week. Some people do it shorter. For me, it was twice a week. The person I had would come to my house. She would cook, and then she would also make fruit for me. And so, you know, she was actually pretty good at what she did. And so I had her at the house twice a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. So for the weekend and then for the week. Right. And so that was really like we had a good system going for the last 3 months or so, from February to the end of April before I left. So that was a really good system we had. And I am going to miss that. You know, obviously, I don't have that here. If you want to have that here, you're not going to be able to pay less than $100 for that. You're gonna pay a lot more, and your groceries are a lot more expensive. So it's a lot more manual. My life is more manual here, analog, actually, believe it or not, for these kinds of things. Especially if I want to eat healthy and all of that. I'm going and picking up my own fruits and all of that, obviously, and bringing them back to the house, chopping them up myself, making my own juices myself. So those are all things that are just a part of life. I made rice the other day, which I use a rice cooker in Sierra Leone, but most of the time I didn't even have to make rice. I had someone to make it for me. So that was the other thing. But one thing that's happening right now in Sierra Leone is they had around 10 days of a blackout, 10 days straight. I had a friend at least who had 10 days straight with no light, and a couple other people have been going through that. And so I would have been losing my mind with the amount of money I would have had to spend on fuel to fuel my generator. Not an ideal scenario. But separately from that too, being able to earn an income. I'm in the process right now of applying for jobs here. So far, the application process has been really good, or the interview process, I should say, has been really good. A couple of great companies, publicly traded companies that are private companies that you guys have never heard of, but do significant income and could utilize my services. And so, I'm excited for the opportunities that are coming my way. And I'll probably be making an announcement in terms of like my full-time employment very soon. And so we may have to make some changes to the days I go live, depending on where I end up working full time. I obviously wouldn't be able to go live from an office environment if I'm required to go into an office weekly. And you might notice that I'm looking up. I'm using a TV screen that I don't watch TV on as my second screen for my laptop. And so as of right now, the camera's here, but the TV screen is up here. So I keep looking up to be able to kind of track the conversation. So Chelabella says, I think you would do amazing things if you organize trips for diasporans throughout West Africa. So this is something that has come up before. I won't be organizing my own trips, but I will likely partner with other folks who do. So I'm planning to go to Kenya later this year with Traverse Culture. I will likely be going on more trips with Maximum Impact at some point in time in the future, probably in 2025. And when I go on those trips, you guys will be able to come on those trips with me. And so that's something that I'll likely do, but I probably won't be organizing trips. I do not have the bandwidth to organize trips myself to go around the continent. They are very, very difficult to do, to curate those trips, to determine who's going to be your tour guides, where you go, your accommodations, all of that stuff. It's just really difficult to manage and handle. And that's a business that you have to really, really be interested in. And it takes a lot of work. So that's not something I plan to do, but I definitely plan to take advantage of other people's businesses that do that, and bring people on with me on those trips. Shout out to Aya in the building. I see T-Boy here, or Tamba. What's up? Shout out to Tamba. Highly Favored is in the building as well. Shout out to you. Long time no see. But yeah, so do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. Are there things that I miss greatly? Yes. One of the things I don't talk about much is my social life, and I've developed some really good friendships in Sierra Leone, and there are folks that I didn't see every day, but we saw each other at least a couple times a month, and it was just always good to all know we were on the same path, right? We were first generation Americans, born and raised in the United States, having moved to the continent of Africa. And, we all had similar stories, things that we could talk about. There was just a common cause, and most of the people that I know here, there are all kinds of different things they're focused on in their lives here. Very different thing. Not everybody I know here is about the advancement of Africa. So in my everyday conversation, that's not the things that I'm talking about generally. Most of the time, especially over the last 2 weeks, it's been Kendrick or Drake, who's winning that beef. That's been the conversation, which, at this point, over 40, it's kind of funny to be talking about two guys in their early 30s, yelling at each other on wax about things that have that could be potentially criminal. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, we got Kellen in the building. What's up? Plus, us Black Americans ain't easy to please on those trips. That is true. 100% true. So I could not be a person to run those trips myself. I'd have to, employ somebody else to do that. Albert Kelly says, that's great to hear. I was trying to figure out how to save some stable income, USD, while I set up shop in Kenya. I think you want to focus on doing that while you're set up the shop. Build up that cash, make sure you have ongoing income. The same advice that people give to entrepreneurs, like generally they give to entrepreneurs. Now, with some entrepreneurs, they'll say, I was able to build my business because I burned all my bridges and I was able to just run my business and that's all my only focus and I didn't have a plan B. That is not realistic for most people. And there are people who can grow okay sized businesses and grow even big businesses while working in their job before they take on that business. I say the same thing about building a business or moving to the continent of Africa. For sure, ensure that you have an income, a steady income flowing on the continent, or you have an income that isn't going to stop from the States when you go. But yeah, I definitely think that you want to make sure you have that available. Highly Favored says, where in Brooklyn are you at? If you don't mind me asking. I am near Prospect Park. Highly Favored. Very true in the States. Yeah. So yeah, I would say the best thing to do if you're planning to move to the continent of Africa is prepare yourself as much as possible by ensuring that you have a constant flow of income on the continent when you're making that move. So Tamba says, welcome back to the States. Hope to see you soon. Hope so too, bro. I am going down to the DMV soon. So when I get down there, we'll definitely get a chance to see each other. One thing I do want to mention here too now, I am planning to do this time for real, a meet and greet in New York. I now have 2 venues in which I can do the meet and greet in New York City. And so this summer, when it gets warm, and if you guys are interested, those of you who are in the States, I thought about doing 2 things, going live. So like on a day like today, go live for the first half of it, where I have the conversation I have, but people are in the audience can ask questions and we can take questions from people on the live. Now that I'm in the States, I can go live from different places. The Wi-Fi is good enough. I can do that. And then also then having conversations afterwards, right? To have the actual meet and greet. That part would not be live. It will be filmed, but edited and vlogged later on. And so a goal of mine is to potentially get together with some other creators. There's a few in New York, some Sierra Leonean, some Nigerian that I've been in touch with, some who follow the page and who are familiar with what we're doing at Authentic African. So I'm looking to potentially collaborate with those folks. So I definitely plan to bring that to you guys soon. So if you're in the DMV or the tri-state area and you want to come up to New York for the day, I will definitely let you know when I'm hosting the meet and greet, and would love to have you guys come here in person. Highly Favored says that you're not too far from where I am. You're on Flatbush. Nice. Yeah. So I'm right by Prospect Park, and so yeah. But yeah, we may end up running into each other accidentally. I ran into someone the other day. The world is so small. It's crazy. I was at a place across the street and I ran into a person. She looked so familiar to me and I thought we had met before. But the reason why she looked familiar is because I had just seen a post that they had posted from the bruncheon party in Sierra Leone in December, and she was there. So I thought we had met before, but we hadn't actually met. But the funny thing is when people meet me, they always go, authentic something or something African. And I'm like, yeah, Authentic African is the name of the platform. My name is Joe. I do not call myself Authentic African. Although if your platform is called Authentic African and on social media, people tend to call you based on what your name is. Like I think about that guy, Shaka Bars. I don't know his real name, but we all call him Shaka Bars because that's his Instagram name. So my name is not Authentic African though. My name is Joe. But yeah, so it was a small world. It was kind of crazy. So I do expect that I will be running into you folks if we don't have a clear get together date and time. It's possible that I'll run into you. So the blackout in Sierra Leone for 10 days. There's no way I would have been okay with that. It would have been challenging for me, and so I'm glad that I just missed that. And yeah, and the job prospects are looking really, really good right now. I'm consulting with a client that with this consulting client, it pays 16 times more than what my consulting client paid, or what my clients for my social media agency paid in Sierra Leone. One client, 20 hours a week is their expectation, and they pay 16 times more than the clients I had in Sierra Leone, who were very demanding, and for such little retaining fees. And so it is what it is, right? I mean, you're in a country with 300 plus million people versus a country with less than 9 million. So the expectation is there's going to be more opportunity for me here. And I'm just going to continue to build on the opportunity here, continue to do what I'm doing here, but also do more back home. So I have been on calls all day long today. So even though it is only 5:26, it feels like what it normally felt like when I would go live in Sierra Leone at 9:26. It is feeling like it's really late at night, just because I've been on calls all day, and really just spent a significant amount of time. And I went live earlier today as well. That's the other thing. If you guys haven't checked that out, check out the live that I do with the folks from African Stream. Inem Richardson is one of the journalists there, and I'll be going live with her the majority of the time. There'll be maybe a few times here and there where we add other people, or I go live with someone else. But you guys should definitely check that out. If you guys want more news from what's going on the continent of Africa, anything outside of my personal experiences, we do a complete debrief of the week's news every single week, every single Monday at 3 p.m. GMT, which is I guess 12 p.m. EST, or is it 11 a.m. EST? 11 a.m. EST. Yeah, 11 a.m. EST. So I definitely recommend, if you can, check that out. It's every Monday at 3 p.m. GMT on YouTube, Instagram. Definitely check it out. I'm also going to be going live again with Admire Demo from Sierra Leoneans Killing It. So if you want anything Sierra Leone related, I will definitely be going live. Sorry, my phone is ringing because my friends forget that I go live every Monday sometimes, and they call me even though I am live. So let me just make that note. So yeah, I definitely say check that out. If you want anything specific to Sierra Leone, then you definitely want to check out the Sierra Leoneans Killing It live that I do with them. We've titled it, or I've titled it, Exposing Sierra Leone, and that's a double entendre. Exposing Sierra Leone meaning exposing some of the things that we haven't talked about, but we should be talking about in the country, but also getting Sierra Leone more exposure to the outside and broader world, right? Because good, bad, and ugly, there's a lot that Sierra Leone has to offer, and there's a lot that we need to do as descendants of folks from Sierra Leone to help the country progress and ensure that we are maximizing and getting the full potential out of the country. All right, so with that, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna just keep it short today. As soon as I do that, usually like 10 people just jump off right away. I think before I do that, though, are there any questions, comments, thoughts? This is your chance to ask me anything. Do you guys have any questions? Shout out to Najima. I see Najima joined on Instagram. Shout out to African Queen, who also joined on Instagram. But do you guys have any specific questions for me about what it was like living in Sierra Leone, being back here now? More than happy to answer your questions if you have any. If not, we'll bring this live to a close short here. This will be a 30-minute live. Usually they're an hour or sometimes as many as 3 hours. But in this case, if we don't have a ton to review, we can call it a day or call it a night, depending on where you are watching from. All right, I see a bunch of people jumping off now, so we'll leave it here. The long and short of it is, I don't regret the move, but I wish I didn't have to make it. But we'll dive more into the details of that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the career changes and the career shifts and all the other things that I'm working on now that I'm back, as it happens in real time. And we'll start to interview more folks on the continent of Africa. Now questions are coming in. All right. So let me answer Alaric's question. How do you plan to move forward now? What are you going to do differently? It's a great question. So how do I plan to move forward now? So number one, I am going to ensure that I have a couple of different things going when next I move back. So, obviously this platform that we've built now, we're over 500,000 folks across all platforms. We've really gotten to a point where I can begin to monetize that audience with merchandise, right? And now that I'm in the States, I've made some orders now, so I can look at different clothes. I can look at different designs for the clothing line that I'm launching. Throw pillows, shirts, hoodies. We're gonna have mugs. We're gonna have hats. We're gonna have anything you need. All right, to be able to like wear your African pride, right? That's the goal. Is to feel whatever the clothes you're wearing feels like authentic African representation. And so I will be, t-shirts, like I said, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all that kind of stuff. That's the game plan. So we're gonna have like merchandise that we'll be putting out, and so things like that, right? I'm looking to build on this business that I started in 2019 as just an Instagram page and an e-commerce store where I was just going to drop ship items brought from the continent of Africa all over the United States. Now we're going to take it a step further, right? We're going to add merch. We're going to have the marketplaces that I talked to you guys about before, but I'm not announcing anything like in terms of like announcing that it's ready. I'm not showing you pictures of the clothes or anything like that until I'm ready to ship. So I will do a whole live with those announcements on things that I'm ready to ship. I'll have mugs and t-shirts and all of that stuff ready, and I'll keep you guys posted when that time comes. So separately from that, what else am I going to do differently? Well, I'm going to own land differently than I did when I first went. When I first went to the continent of Africa, I did own, but I didn't have anything on the land yet. So now I can go back and stay for free as I go back to visit. When I move back, I'll be able to live in a house for free, just, obviously not paying rent. And I'll have income streams on the continent. I plan to rent out 3 spaces technically. One long-term rental, like one floor of my house. I plan to do a long-term rental there. Somebody wants to pay 2 years upfront rent, 1 year upfront rent. They pay for that rent for that extended period of time, and they live there. Separately from that, I plan to do Airbnbs and short-term rentals. So the guest house will be a short-term rental. The rooftop, or not the rooftop, the penthouse, we'll call it, will also be short-term rentals on Airbnb. And so that's in Sierra Leone. I plan to do some similar things in Ghana, and then expand in Nigeria, and then other parts of the continent of Africa. So I'd like to be able to stay wherever I want on the continent without having to pay for rent or an Airbnb, and I can stay for an extended periods of time because it's something that I have either built or I have monetized through a platform like Airbnb, VRBO, or Booking.com. So that's the plan. That's what's going to be different when I come back. I may also have a different degree, a higher level degree when I come back. That's also another possibility, which I'm looking into. And so if I do have all those things, then I think that will dramatically change my experience moving back to the continent of Africa. As you guys might know, I like to work jobs to learn, not just to earn. And so, moving back to the continent of Africa, I may take a job as like a entry level analyst at a venture capital firm or a private equity firm. And it won't be because I need the money, but it will be because I want to learn that skill set from institutional investors so that I can build my own fund and I can get people who've been following this platform for so long, but like I can have real credentials and I can help them invest that money on the continent of Africa, right? So that's a really big goal of mine, and that's the plan. So those are some of the things that I'll be doing differently when I come back to the continent of Africa. There are much more on the list of things to do, but let's just start with what I can handle first. So daughter Marie said they're late. She's late, and she said merch. She likes the idea of merch. Nice. Raining Zion says, I thought about Airbnb in Ghana. It's a great business. Nigeria would be better, but Nigeria is hard to get in. Everything, you can do both. I would say just make sure you have a system in place and you visit often. Because the last thing you want to do is start an Airbnb and get bad reviews. Because that's something I've seen happen to people. May you continue to be blessed. Thank you, highly favored. I appreciate it. Alaric says, I've seen a lot of Americans building in Ghana, but I've noticed that a lot of the projects don't fully complete. What is your take on some of the projects? Money. Money is the reason why things don't get completed. That's my take. You'll find that there are a lot of houses under construction for years. So let me explain why that is. So for many of you, you guys have heard this before and you know this, but some people are new and aren't aware. Building in Africa most of the time is all cash. A lot of times people do not have loans that they've taken. I know people who've taken personal loans in America and used those personal loans to build in Africa, different parts of Africa, and that can work for some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but some people decide that's what they do. I am paying cash. And so, that's why I needed to be here because I can generate some significant cash here. So good question. How much capital are we talking about? So for example, a one-story house in Sierra Leone can cost you about $50,000 to build, depending on who you have building it for you, where you're building it, and how many bedrooms and the size. It can cost you $50,000 before you even furnish it, but everything you need to do before furnishing it to get like a pretty nice looking place. You can pay more, $75,000 for a one-story house. Some people have paid $70,000 for 2 stories. I mean, it really depends on who you have building your house and how big the house is going to be, also where you're building. But you need to consider at least $50,000. The guest house that I built, from everything from building the fence, which is a wall, 10-foot cement wall, to excavating the land, to building up the guest house, a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom guest house, cost me about $30,000. Right. So, that was just what it cost over that 2.5 year span. And it took me that long because I went through 3 contractors to build it. And so now I'm on my 4th contractor and we got a pretty serious structure in place. So those are things you need to keep in mind. So, so that answers the original question, right? It's capital. People don't have the capital to finish. That happens a lot of times. Like people start the building process. I mean, if you're in Accra and you go down Labadi Beach Road, and you keep driving down, you will see what looks like the shell of a hotel, which like multiple stories that was never completed because it just got too expensive. And so that happens a lot in Africa where people get excited, they start pouring money into stuff. And, life happens, whatever happens. And to complete it takes a lot of money to finish. And so for me, I wasn't going to get started unless I knew that I could finish it. Don't start what you can't finish. Well, I would say this, start what you can, get something built because something's better than nothing, right? If you can just get started on it. But for me, I chose to really start getting really started once I knew that I could get in there and actually do the work to complete it. Daughter of Marie says, would you also consider getting a PhD? Take a look at the PhD project to learn how you can earn an accredited PhD fully funded by the program with fellowships and other grants. That could be interesting. I have some family members with PhDs. I have family members with more degrees than the thermometer, to tell you the truth. I'm not meant to sit down in the classroom. That is not what I have been meant to do. So I am more of a hands-on type of person. I do learn in an environment, but it takes me longer to learn. I have reading comprehension issues, and so I have challenges with reading, and so what's required a lot of times in that style of classroom work is not necessarily made for my style of learning. And so what I like about the MBA programs that I'm looking at is you get case studies. I can read a case study and work on solving that case study with a group of folks. That I can do well, no problem. It's just when you're teaching to test and it's about testing or writing a thesis paper, I'm not sure that's for me. If it was done orally, no problem. But if you have to write it, it's like 20 pages or whatever. It's just not. That's just not for me. And so and it's not necessary for the level of work that I want to do. A master's degree might be, PhD not necessarily. So it's something that's crossed my mind, but briefly. To be honest, I don't see myself fully investing in a PhD. But Raining Zion says, best of luck. Thank you. Khadija said, I'm in Sierra Leone right now, and the blackouts everywhere. There are blackouts everywhere. Yeah, I know. It's really bad. I've been hearing a lot about that. Representation in research and business specifically. Yeah, that was based on the PhD question Daughter of Marie was asking. Yeah, and I think those things could be interesting, but nah, I don't think for me, just in terms of how I learn and the amount of more time I want to spend in school, I can't imagine going back to school for a PhD. But who knows? I mean, look, I paid for classes for sure. I mean, I spent over $60,000 in classes myself. So, yeah. Mr. London Boy for Life says, hey, Joe, just joined. How you doing? I'm doing well, man. And I saw you in the earlier live, so I appreciate you, Mr. London Boy, for joining the earlier live and joining this one. Diallo224 says, Taft has 2-bedroom houses in Sierra Leone for $56,000. I think you have a few years to pay for it. So there you go. Pre-built houses in a housing community, right? $56,000 for 2-bedroom house. So that's what you can expect to pay if you're going through these kinds of communities, and sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But for a studio or a 1-bedroom in Ghana. But those prices are generally what you can expect to pay. And Nigeria is a pretty similar process as well. So, just expect that you're going to spend a significant amount of money. You can have some time to pay it off, but it's still large swaths of cash, right? You're going to have to at least have $5,000 or $15,000 at a time, depending on the company you're going through and what kind of payment plans they offer and make available to you. But you're going to need to have large lump sums of cash to pay at a time. Mr. London Boy for Life says, how do you think we can solve the blackout issues? Oh, man. You know what? In Sierra Leone. So we've had this conversation before. I think the best way to solve it is to have a complete overhaul of the infrastructure, because 45% of the electricity goes to waste because the infrastructure is not strong enough to even get it out there to people. So complete overhaul of the infrastructure, a new source of power, like nuclear power. So Burkina Faso is working with Russia to do nuclear power in Burkina Faso. Hopefully that'll be enough power to power all of West Africa, or at least most of it, or at least to get on a grid. But as individuals, the way you can solve blackout issues is through solar power or through generators. Solar power is going to be expensive, especially if you want to keep all your appliances on. But it's the best way to be able to live off the grid and never have to worry about anything as it pertains to blackouts. You can also get generators, but that's going to cost you a little bit because you will have to buy fuel. Highly Favored said, thank you for being transparent. That's all, I guess, me talking about all the things that I have, the challenges I have with reading comprehension and all of that. Yeah, I tell these stories to people because what I found was, everybody who has succeeded in their respective career fields, I found that, sorry, everybody, I keep saying everybody, many people have dyslexia, right? And I think maybe because you have to overcome that. They say that people who do challenging things early in life and often tend to be able to follow through on big goals later in life. And if you can imagine, every day I'm looking at these books and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm reading right now. And I still had to graduate from high school and had to graduate from college and had no individualized learning. It might seem like something small to most people, but for me, it was extremely difficult. And it's not to say I can't read, it's just comprehending and retaining what I read. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work for me. And so I think because of that, it's allowed me to be able to deal with other things that are more challenging and to be able to get through those things, like living in Sierra Leone off of $1,000 a month. Yeah. So, I think if you do hard things early and often, you'll be able to do hard things later in life. So I think it's just how it goes. Black Star Company says, "Welcome back to high speed internet. Keep up the good work, putting Salon on the map." I appreciate that. Yeah, my high speed internet. Yes, I still have some internet connectivity issues here, but yeah, it is high speed internet. You're right. So EcoFlow says generators in Africa is another way. Yes, generators and solar, as they had previously mentioned. Black Star Company says Russia bring nuclear power to Sierra Leone. Here's the thing. Here's the thing on that one. I'm a little worried about nuclear power everywhere, period, right? Just anywhere on Earth. The thing about nuclear power is there cannot be any mistakes made. You have to be error-free. Always, like consistently error-free. There can't be errors in the building of the facility. There can't be errors in the management of the nuclear facility. There can't be people that are late. There can't be people who take off work. You have to be on top of it like you have never seen before. Now, knowing all of that, and if you've visited Sierra Leone, you have to honestly ask yourself if like a nuclear power plant in Sierra Leone makes sense. And I would tell you, I don't think Sierra Leone's ready for nuclear power plant, but they are ready for nuclear power that they can get on the grid from another country, maybe potentially. That I could see. Please, people, as you are coming in, press that like button, please, and thank you. Shout out to Highly Favored for that. Yes, please. Hit that like button, please, and thank you. And I know that I'm reading, and it might sound counterintuitive for me to say I have reading comprehension issues and then I'm reading comments. Let me be clear. If it's short, it's easy. What it really is my brain goes 1,000 different directions once I read like tree. Then I think I've talked to people before about how my brain branches off, and this is why I have reading comprehension issues. It's not that I cannot read, and it's not that I'm too, it's too incomprehensible for me. I think it's more just like controlling my mind and keeping it focused on reading something, because I have such a strong imagination. It's very difficult for me to just stay focused on just reading lines of text over and over and over again. And so so what ends up happening is, I give this example all the time, but I think maybe it gives you a little bit of insight into how my brain works and why I have such a hard time reading. Is if I read Tree, then I think of the line that Jay-Z had, like, "Made love under the sycamore tree," which makes me a more sicker MC. And I'm like, yeah, I really like the way he put that together. Do other rappers do it as well as Jay-Z? Is Jay-Z still the GOAT? Is Drake the GOAT, or because he lost to Kendrick, is he no longer ever going to be considered part of the GOAT debate? Does Kendrick now move up in the GOAT debate conversation? Should he even be in the conversation? What about Nas? Does Tupac and you see what can happen? And that's actually what my brain does. So I read Tree, and I got to, should Tupac still be in the GOAT conversation? Greatest rapper of all time. or greatest of all time in terms of rap music. And so that is why I have reading comprehension issues. I know it has nothing to do with the continent of Africa, but I just, just kind of want to give you guys that insight. And so once I learned that about myself, I found tricks. And so I've been able to move through my career pretty swiftly because I've learned ways around it. If somebody sends me a long email, I call them. I don't try to sit down and decipher that email for 45 minutes because I won't. It won't happen. So I call the person. And usually in the corporate world, they see that as efficient. For me, it was a shortcut. It works. Daughter of Marie says, ooh, preach, early challenges. Yes, early challenges are real. So Khadijah says they have solar power here, which is in Sierra Leone, but it is expensive, especially if it's a private hotel business. The generators make a lot of pollution here. It's sad. It is. Generators do cause a lot of pollution, and they do make a lot of noise. They cause noise pollution and actual air pollution. Alaric says, I hear you on the infrastructure problem, but I will say we won't be able to build massive projects done without having the right capital. I think we need to manufacture to get capital for massive projects. We need markets to gain capital for social development. Yes, Alaric, I agree with you 100%. And that's part of why this platform is here. It's to raise awareness about what it's like to live on the continent, move, visit, invest. And as you learn, you do, right? And so we get awareness out to many people. Some of those people make action, and some of those people follow through and continue to follow through on that action. That is the full funnel of that sales process of getting people to the continent of Africa. And in specific countries like Sierra Leone, where it's near and dear to me, because that is where my family is from. Most recent generations. You go back 6 generations, my family's from all over Africa. But most recently, the last few generations are from Sierra Leone. Okay, Mr. London Boy for Life says, how can we improve see, there's a reading thing. How can we improve infrastructure in Africa so it will be stable? I think I answered it, right? I think the way it gets there is more and more of us who have seen large infrastructure projects elsewhere successfully operated and run for extended periods of time come and help see that through in on the continent of Africa. So yeah, I think that's how it happens. But I don't think we will see a shift in manufacturing from China. So we'll have to come up with something unique to Africa, maybe accessing the Nigerian market and gaining that capital. Yeah, something to that effect. But yeah, I just think more and more of us, one thing that I noticed about the country of China that they've done really well is people who go away to university that are from China, sometimes they stay, but often they move back to China, and they're able to kind of take what they've learned outside of China and apply it in China. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the global north or the west, however you want to describe it, Europe, Americas, is better than anywhere else. It's different. And I think diversity of thought is what takes things from one place of being stagnant to the next level. I use this as an example. The story of FedEx. They say that he got a C for his paper that he wrote on the idea of FedEx, right? And he was combining what was normally the carrier system that worked one way, and he decided to combine that with the airline system and with airplanes and delivering things much faster, right? And at the time, it probably didn't seem like it made sense. You're putting mail on an airplane? What? But look, I mean, obviously, today you can overnight something, and it's just normal to overnight stuff in the mail, right? And so I think it's really important to know that you took 2 different industries, right? Put them together, and now you have a multi-billion-dollar company that obviously operates as the biggest privately held, if I'm not mistaken, or whether it's the biggest or the second business privately held mail carrier company in the United States. And so for me, I believe that the solutions to the continent of Africa will be found by Africans, but will be found by Africans with diversity of thought, people who don't only have the world around them to solve the problems that they have, but that have gone elsewhere, learned about some other things and other disciplines, and bring that knowledge back and apply it to what they've already known in the ingenuity in the country in which they're from. That's what's worked in China, and I think that's also what's worked in India, and I think that will be what works on the continent of Africa. Khadija says, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to stay focused. You always have to adapt to in a new environment. It takes a slower time for me. Yeah, it takes a little while to adapt. Royal Bloodline says, what other parts of Africa were your family from? If you guys are interested, I will share. So, I've never talked about this before. Maybe I haven't. As far as I know, we have a few different things going on my maternal side. For sure, we have Yoruba. We have a stint in Liberia, but the Creole tribe is a tribe of freed former enslaved Africans by the, and some other groups as well, but by the British abolitionists who brought over a little over 1,000 of them from Nova Scotia, Canada. And so I have the Creole tribe, I have some Yoruba, and potentially some Liberian and some others on the maternal lineage. On the paternal side, we have the Mandingo tribe from Guinea. My paternal grandmother was born in Guinea and relocated to Sierra Leone later in life. So I am the tribes that I am made up of, that I know of currently, technically is Kono, which I thought it was Mende, but my last name Hatagwa means tall stranger, which means that that person was a stranger that came to Bo from Kono. So I'm Kono. I am Mandingo. So that's on the paternal side. On the maternal side, I can't remember what tribe it might be in Liberia, but I am Yoruba and Creole. And so, yes, diverse background across West Africa. But the last 100 or so years, Sierra Leone for most of them. Which I just found out, by the way, over the last couple of years. I was not aware of that. I thought I was only two tribes. I thought I was Creole and Mende. I thought that was it. My entire life, I would tell people that. And most people do just generally go with one tribe of one of their parents, and or one tribe of each of your parents are from different tribes. You usually say, these are the two tribes that I'm from. Because I didn't know that my maternal great grandfather was from the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria and came to Sierra Leone, met a Sierra Leonean, married and had children. I didn't know that. I know that now. And so, I have, diverse background from all over West Africa, but I rep Sierra Leone mostly, because, I speak Creole. I've now lived there for a year, and I've been going there on and off since 2010 for the first time as an adult, and frequently since 2017. All right, so I meant to end this 30 minutes in, and then more questions came and more people jumped on. So we kept this thing going. We are almost at an hour here. You guys, once you guys get me talking, I just keep talking and I don't stop. So I hope you guys found that interesting. We got off on a tangent there a little bit about my cultural background. One thing I really like to do and would like to document this process and then eventually put something together documentary style is, okay, here we go. This is what's great about having your aunt on the live. There we go. So the tribe in Liberia is do we pronounce this Crew or Crow in Liberia? So that's the tribe I'm from in Liberia. There you go. So on the maternal side, they do say many Creole are originally from Nigeria. That is one thing that they do say. We have Nigerian names with my aunt and uncles. We have an Adewale, we have Olainka, we have And I can't remember all the rest of the Yoruba names that we have there, but those are the ones that are off the top of my head because those are the ones that I call them by, Auntie Alanka and Uncle Adewale. So that's how I remember. But everyone has their own Yoruba names. So yeah, so it's been fascinating to me because I don't know, for whatever reason growing up, I never really asked too many questions about our lineage and our heritage, and it's become very, very interesting to me. Obviously, as of late, with the whole Authentic African platform, everything I'm doing here, it has generated a lot of interest in just like who I am and where I come from. And the more I would go to Sierra Leone, especially when I would go to Bo and meet other family members, the more I find out who I am. People tell me I remind them of this great uncle or this uncle, and I walk like this person or I talk like this person, which is crazy because I never heard that person speak. And people tell me I sound like them, even though I speak a completely different language. I am told that I sound differently. Okay, so Auntie Alice is Ayodele. See, so there you go. That is her Yoruba name. Oh no, so that's Auntie Ayo's name. Sorry, Auntie Ayo is Ayodele. So Auntie Alice, do you have a Yoruba name? Whew! Omojo, that's my mom's name. Omojo, that is my mother's name. That is her Nigerian name, her Yoruba name, Omojo. So we have Adewale, Ayodele, Olanka, Omojo. I think my Nigerian friends will be very proud of me and how I've been pronouncing these names, because them Nigerian names, man. If you my social media managers that I have running my social media for me, they're all like Yoruba, every single one of them, and their names are like multi-syllable names. Like we're talking like 5 syllables. Because Yorubas, they love like them really long multisyllabic names. That's what I was trying to say. Multisyllabic names. So yeah. So all right. We're at an hour now. I think it's good to call it a night here full of for all of you. Auntie Alice doesn't have a Yoruba name, so not all of my aunts and uncles have Yoruba names. See, I just learned something new about the generation before me just now by my aunt being on this live. See how that works? And now you guys all learn right along with me. There we go. So we're going to bring this live to a close today. It's been great. Appreciate all of you for joining, as always. And as was stated previously, make sure you hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you come back to the replay and hit the thumbs up, the like button on the replay, so that, the algorithms give me some love. The algorithms have been really, really hard on me the last 12 months across Instagram and YouTube. So we need your help to get the word out to different people. Share this with people who are wondering what it's like to live on the continent and move back to America and what that might be for them. Some people love it. I have a friend who moved back and she is so happy to be back. I have other friends, same thing. And then I have friends who, split on it. For me, I do miss being in Sierra Leone. So I'm looking forward to going back and sharing what that experience is like when I go back. But until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you all on the next live.